In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can estimate fraction sums and differences. So in the last chapter, we spent a lot of time building our understanding and knowledge of fractions and tried to develop an ability to just look at a fraction and determine if it was closest to 0, 1/2, or 1, just so we kind of understood about how big each fraction was. So what I like to do, as we talked about in class, is just kind of look at our denominator. So that, for example, if we were looking at 3/16, okay, we know our denominator is 16. And then easiest way to figure out what half of that would be, right, would be to find half of 16, which in this case would be 8/16. So we know that 1/2 would be equivalent to 8/16. 1/2 would be 16/16. And 0 obviously would be 0/16. And in this case, we can see that 3/16 is closer to 0 than it is to 8 or 16. So if we were to estimate this fraction, we would say that it is closest to 0. So we can go ahead and use that as we're also trying to estimate sums and differences of our fractions. So that if we had a problem, let's say 7/8 plus 1/4, we can look at that and say, okay, well 7/8 is definitely closest to about 1. So we can say that's about 1, and 1/4 is closest to 0. And 1 plus 0 is 1. So just as a nice easy estimate, we could say that 7/8 plus 1/4 is equal to about 1. Now we can also do the same thing when it comes to differences. So we could take, let's say, 12/15, and we'll go ahead and subtract, let's say, 4/7. So 12/15, we would say, okay, well, half of 15 is 7.5. So definitely 12/15 is closest to 1. And 4/7 is closest to 1/2. So if we were to do 1 minus 1/2, we would get 1/2. Now we can also do these same estimates when it comes to mixed numbers. So in order to estimate the sum or difference of mixed numbers, we can round each mixed number to the nearest whole number and then add or subtract. So, for example, we're really just doing the same thing, right? So if we have 8 and 1/5, and we're adding that to 9 and 5/8, okay, well we can say, all right, 8 and 1/5, that would definitely round down to 8. And then if we look at 9 and 5/8, okay, well we know that 5/8 is greater than 1/2. So 9 and 5/8 would round up to 10. So our estimate with mixed numbers would be 8 plus 10, which is 18. Okay, so then if we want to do one more of those while using our our subtraction, we do another problem and say 15 and 1/2 minus 9 and 9/10. In this case, okay, 15 and 1/2. Remember, that would be the same as 5/10. So that's going to round up. Anything 1/2 or greater will round up. So this becomes 16. 9 and 9/10 will also round up. So that's 16 minus 10. So as an estimate, our difference here would be 6. So there's just a quick look at how we can estimate our fraction and sum differences as well as our mixed number sums and differences.